Welcome to InFocus. I'm Kyle McCormick. For this week's edition, I spoke with Ann O'Leary, the Executive Director of Berkeley Law's Center for Health, Economic, and Family Security. From 2001 to 2003, she served as Senator Hillary Clinton's Legislative Director and later served as a volunteer policy advisor to Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. Ann O'Leary is also the author of the book How Family Leave Laws Left Out Low-Income Workers. I spoke with Ann O'Leary about women in politics and economic security. All right, Ann O'Leary, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I think most people would agree that this last year has been a groundbreaking year for women in politics with Hillary Clinton's campaign and now Sarah Palin on the ticket for the Republicans. What's your reaction to the past events, to this year's events so far?
Well, I think it's very interesting. Women, as you might know, are the majority of voters. 54% of the voters in the last election were women. So I think that finally there's a recognition that not only are women well qualified for these positions, but women are actually voting. And certainly I think the pick of Sarah Palin was a recognition by the Republican Party that they best pay attention to women.
I want to read a quote from an article written by Gloria Steinem about Palin and her speech at the convention. She wrote, quote, "Palin shows nothing but a chromosome with Clinton. Her down-home, divisive, and deceptive speech did nothing to cosmeticize a Republican convention that has more than twice as many male delegates as female, a presidential candidate who is owned and operated by the right wing, and a platform that opposes pretty much everything Clinton's candidacy stood for." And she goes on from there. First of all, do you share that sentiment? And secondly, do you think most Hillary supporters also feel that way?
Well, I think there are a number of things that are really disturbing about the McCain-Palin ticket in terms of women, and women really should be questioning and wondering about what this ticket stands for. So let's just take healthcare as an example. On healthcare, what McCain has been promoting is that we provide everyone with $5,000 tax credits and that we let people purchase healthcare in an individual market. So one of the questions we should ask is, what does that mean for women? Well, what it means for women, there's a report that recently came out by the National Women's Law Center that said that it's much more difficult for women to purchase healthcare in the individual market. Why? Because women have to pay higher premiums. They're often discriminated against. Oftentimes, individual health insurance doesn't cover maternity health care provisions. So there's many, many reasons in which the McCain plan for health care is anti-women. Now, Sarah Palin, in particular, has done very little for women as governor of Alaska. Some of the issues that women care most about in terms of economic security, health care, child care, paid family leave, if you dig very deeply into her record, you'll find that she's taken no position on many of these issues. So I think that it's true that the platform of the Republican Party is anti-women, and more so, it's true that Sarah Palin has done very little for women. So the second part of your question is, do I think Hillary Clinton supporters are supporting Sarah Palin? I think there was interesting that there was an initial bump in polls showing that women were supporting Palin right after her nomination, but you'll see there's been a steady decline in women who are interested in Sarah Palin because more and more they're really asking these questions and discovering that in fact she is not pro-women. While she may be a woman, she's not supporting women who come up behind her.
Right. Looking the other direction at McCain's policies. What is McCain's best economic policy? If you had to sell a McCain policy, which one would it be?
That's a very good question. I think the problem is McCain has so many fundamentally flawed economic policies, particularly for women, that it's really challenging to answer that question. Let me just talk about women in particular. One of the things that McCain recently did is to say that he voted no on a Paycheck Fairness Act, which basically said the Supreme Court came out with a case this year on pay discrimination. And John McCain said that he doesn't think pay discrimination is something that needs to be rectified, even though women are continue to make 77 cents on the dollar. Now, whether or not this is an important issue, you can question, because some people say, oh, that's just about women's equity. That's about women wanting to try to make the same as everyone else. it's also about family economic security. Again, I'll just go back to the issue that when women are not able to bring home the same amount of money, there's many women who are single parents, but there's also women who are contributing to their family's economic security as either an equal 50-50 partner, or sometimes in some cases making the breadwinner in the family. So when women don't make as much as men, it impacts families and it also impacts our economy.
Anna O'Leary, thanks so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you so much.
Well, that's it for this edition of InFocus. Special thanks to Ann O'Leary for speaking with us. Tune in next Friday for another edition, and in the meantime, stay focused.